My name's Sergeant Johnson and I've been an Irish Ranger now for 15 years. My role within the battalion is part of the media team, and it's my role and responsibility then to ensure that our media capture and output is just as professional as how an Irish Ranger operates, whether it be in exercise and operations. I have the opportunity over the next 18 months to follow an operationally focused battalion worldwide on operations and exercise, which they will deploy to multiple continents over these next 18 months. So the aim of this documentary and the many more that will follow is to show you exactly what they get up to, the situations they may find themselves in, and how professionally they act.
I'm Corporal Green, 1st Battalion, Royal Irish Regiment. Done 15 years service until June this year. I've been to Afghanistan 3 times for operations, been on exercise in Kenya, Salisbury Plain for the countless Wessex Storms, also a few countries around Europe and further afield. Currently the role I hold at the minute within battalion is working in the battalion intelligence cell, which is carrying out the basic G2 tasks so that the battalion is able to understand an enemy picture, whoever the enemy may be at the time, and then to fully understand their doctrine and how we can combat that or best put our capabilities against that to have the best effectiveness. Prior to Wessex Storm, I'd found out that I was going to be attached to the French company, which was going to be the extra rifle company attachment to the battalion for the exercise. Because I have a background in communications, I moved across to work with the French company to sort of carry out their det commander role or the communications role for the company. As they're French army, they won't have British communication systems, so that's to provide that link between the French communication and the British communication. The skills drills or sort of tactics, the differences we noticed between British army and French army. They do things slightly different. It's not based off the British Army model as we know it with the tactics and doctrine. At the start when you see it, you think that's very different. Different doesn't always mean wrong though. They are very good at what they do, very skilled. They follow procedure very well. They're very well disciplined troops. So attacking villages such as Cope Hill Down, very strange to see. But very good in the same way because they do things very methodically. They took very few casualties throughout the attack and then they were able to sort of secure their objectives.
So I chose to be an Irish Ranger because I wanted a new life for a start, and I heard about the Royal Irish Regiment from friends who served before during Herrick, and I liked what I heard, so I decided to look into it whilst I was growing up in my early 20s, and eventually came to a point where I decided to go for it, and now I'm here. The air assault operation that we executed during Wessex Storm, first it started off with a set of orders from company HQ on where we're going, how we're getting there, who's going to be on what helicopter, where we're going to land, and what we need to do once we land. When the Chinooks came, you could tell the fellas were quite pumped up and they were quite focused in. Once we got into the Chinooks, there was about a 10-minute flight to the target, and guys really started to switch on. You could see it in their eyes. My platoon was the Echelon platoon, which basically means we were the second platoon to go through the objective. And once we got through there, past the first platoon, my section commander started getting amongst it. They knew the plan, the guys were motivated, and it went flawlessly, I have to say, from my perspective. The objective itself was a series of compounds, something that you see in like southern Afghanistan, and it's surrounded by small forests and fields. We pushed, once we cleared those compounds, we then pushed into the forest, making sure the overall area was clear and secure. We then stand by then for further operations. For someone coming as a platoon commander in the Royal Irish Regiment, I think you got to be humble for a start, because it's the junior NCOs that really make this battalion. They have all the experience and all the knowledge to execute your plan. So definitely take their advice once you come here, and you should have a pretty good platoon if you keep it humble.
Any advice I have for anyone who's thinking about joining British Army, especially Royal Irish Regiment, and become an Irish Ranger, go for it. Definitely. It is a challenge right from the start, but you will enjoy it. With the operational tours coming up, the exercises it will deploy on to get us ready for operational tours, it'll be a challenge, but like any other Irish Ranger, welcome the challenge, embrace it, adapt, and then get the job done.
I'm Corporal Blake, 6th Platoon B Company 1 Royal Irish. I've just done over 8 years in battalion now, and I became an Irish Ranger just because I wanted a different change in lifestyle, and I wanted to go on operations with the lads overseas. So my current role in battalion is section commander, so 6th Platoon 1 section, and that entails me training the blokes, looking after them in camp and in the field, and making sure everything runs smoothly within the section. During Wessex Storm, I did a mixture of job roles really. Could have been anything, going out on like ambushes, doing sort of urban, any sort of FEWAF clearances that the platoon was tasked to do. Once we get to any objective, then my responsibility, close into platoon commander and make sure that he briefs us the plan and I brief the plan to my bloke, so everyone's in the loop and everyone knows what's happening and going on at that time. Any sort of actions on for different courses of events that might happen throughout the operation, and making sure everything's tied down at section level and with the other section commanders, so it all runs smoothly. Some lads, you can tell the lads that have been in a while and have done a good bit of training with us, they're different to the lads who've just come from ITC. So I think obviously an ITC or section commander probably holds your hand quite a bit and pushes you through. Like, gone are the days probably where your section commander's launching you through rooms. We use a lot of, like, for us now with the new sort of like urban ops instructors, the way they teach it, there's a lot of initiative based tactics, and that starts at ranger level from when you come through ITC. Because I'll not always be there with you. I could be doing something else and it's up to the rangers that will be clearing them rooms to go through and fight through themselves. When you've got a free thinking enemy, as you would do in operations, like, you know yourself, any sort of free thinking enemy that can maneuver around the battle space, it can make things very, very hard, very, very fast. So for blokes that are coming from ITC, they need to be swept up and they need to have their own sort of initiative to think. You can't rely on me to tell you to sit here, do this and do that. You need to have your own initiative coming in straight from ITC, so you know if there is, right, I need to look this way because an enemy could come running through these two buildings and cut you off from the rest of your platoon. Then that bloke needs to be able to do that, and that's what makes life a lot easier for us, so you're not individually telling every bloke what to do. But other than that, operating in an urban environment, it can be as hard as you make it. So if you get caught up in the firefight or caught up in everything that's happening and like forget your basics, like the basics, having the reserve constantly creeping up, flank protection, all them sort of like basic skills and drills that we do well over the years, you lose that and it'll come very hard, very fast.
Company, 1st Battalion Royal Irish Regiment, and I've been in Irish Range for 13 years. My reason for joining the 1st Battalion was due to past family members being in the regiment, and I've grew up in that background obviously since I was born, and I've just followed on that family tradition as it being a family regiment. So the way we prepared for the subterranean environment was essentially going through loads of urban drills. What we do on the surface we will do below the surface. The depth of that we went down to, I would say, is probably about the same depth as the London tubes. The way we navigated our way around the tunnel was we had a scribe in the reserve section that would scribe the tunnel system, so that he was able to then, once we've hit our limit of exploitation as a platoon or company, he was able then to run back to a field phone to get comms to the surface, so communications to the surface, to then paint a picture for the battle group main, and so the battle group headquarters that are on the surface. In that environment, then you've got the new night sights that we've got, which is Kestrel, and then it's got a thermal overlay. So without any ambient light, you're still able to pick up targets in dark enclosures inside that subterranean warfare, i.e. in the tunnels, in the darkest parts of the tunnels. So you don't necessarily need light for your nods to work. As long as you've got that thermal overlay, you're able to pick up targets. Best advice for an aspiring Irish Ranger would be to be well fit, motivated, have a willingness to learn, adaptable and a flexible mindset, because once you hit the battalion you will hit the ground running with what is in the pipeline for the 1st Battalion over the next 12 to 18 months.
So my best advice to anyone that's aspiring to be an Irish Ranger, we operate at quite a high tempo in battalion. So we operate high tempo and have pretty high standards as a unit ourselves. So my advice to you is to straight away get stuck into phys, and that'll automatically make your life easier. If you're struggling with your physical side, and it's going to make your life harder when you're struggling to do like the tactical side, because if you're physically struggling, it makes life a lot harder. Also, any sort of like stuff you need to square away at home, like before you leave and all that, make sure that all gets nipped before you come to ITC or before you come to unit, so you have no like distractions or anything like that. And basically a high level of fitness is definitely a good place to start before going.